All right, everybody, buckle up. We're diving deep into shock absorbers this time.
Oh yeah, the real heart of what makes your RC car perform, am I right?
You got it. And we're lucky enough to have some expert advice today. We're picking the brain of NitroBot. He's an engineer over at JMB RC Racing.
Those guys really know their stuff. I've seen their cars in action. What they can do on the track is unbelievable.
And he's sharing his secrets with us. Well, secrets might be pushing it, but definitely insider tips on fine-tuning shocks to squeeze every ounce of performance out of your RC. And that's what this deep dive is all about, right? Understanding the why behind those adjustments we make.
And honestly, who wouldn't want their car to handle like a dream, right?
Right. But NitroBot stresses one thing right off the bat. Before you even think about touching those shocks.
You got to get a feel for the car as it is.
Exactly. Get out on the track, run a few laps, and really pay attention to how the car behaves.
That makes total sense. You need a baseline, a starting point, before you can even begin to diagnose what needs adjusting.
He actually compares it to like a doctor seeing a patient. Gotta get that medical history. Because even the smallest tweak to your shocks can ripple through the entire system and change how the car performs.
It's true. Shocks are almost like the suspension's nervous system.
Yeah.
Affecting everything from steering to stability to how the car sits on the track.
So true. So, okay, you're on the track, feeling out your car. What kind of things should we be looking for?
It's all about those corners. How does your car handle those tight turns at low speed?
Right.
Does it feel loose? Does it drift wide on those fast sweepers?
Uh-huh. Okay.
You really got to understand where the car feels off so you know where to start tuning.
So let's say the car feels a bit sluggish in tight corners,
Okay.
not as responsive as you'd like. NitroBot says that's where your front shocks come in.
Absolutely. The front shocks play a major role in how your car steers and how well it maintains traction, especially in those tight spots.
And damping plays a huge part in that, right? Later damping for quicker steering, as I understand it.
Exactly. Lighter damping basically means the shocks react faster. So imagine your car zipping into those corners, changing direction with like zero lag.
But there's always a trade-off, isn't there?
You're catching on. It's a balancing act, right? Lighter damping, while great for those tight maneuvers, might make the car feel a tad unstable at high speeds.
I see. So it's like choosing between a race car and say, a big sturdy truck.
Now you're getting it.
Yeah.
The race car, with its tighter suspension, is going to be nimble and quick, but on a bumpy road, you're going to feel it.
And then there's the truck with its heavy-duty suspension.
Right. Built for absorbing those bumps.
Mm.
But it's not exactly winning any awards for agility, is it?
Makes sense. So if you want your car glued to the track at high speeds, you'd go for heavier damping.
You got it. Heavier damping slows down the shock's reaction so you don't get those dramatic weight shifts, keeping your RC car nice and planted even when you're pushing it to the limit.
This is fascinating stuff. It's amazing how these small adjustments can make or break your race. Okay, so we've talked about damping, but what about springs? How do they fit into all of this?
Springs. Think of them as the muscles that work alongside your shocks. They control how weight gets transferred around the car as you drive.
So are you saying that lighter springs would be like having quick responsive muscles?
Exactly. Allowing for quicker weight transfer, which translates to snappier handling, especially in those lower speed corners. It's all about being able to change direction quickly and smoothly.
Got it. So lighter springs for those technical sections, and then stiffer springs for when you want that rock-solid stability on the straightaways.
Bingo. Stiffer springs act like powerful muscles, keeping your car level and composed even when you're braking hard or taking a corner at high speed.
This is all making so much sense. Honestly, I feel like I could talk about shock absorbers all day. But before we get too carried away, any last bits of wisdom from NitroBot for our listeners who are eager to start tinkering?
You know, he emphasizes something really important. Every driver is different, right?
Oh, for sure.
We all have our own driving style, our own preferences. So what works for one person might not work for another. That's why blindly copying someone else's setup isn't always the best approach.
So it's more about understanding the principles.
Yeah. Experiment, take notes, find what works for you in your car, develop that intuition, you know?
It's all about the journey, isn't it?
It totally is. It's all part of the fun.
I love that. So to sum it all up, remember, fine-tuning your shocks is a process of trial and error. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty, experiment, and most importantly, have fun.
Tuning is an art form, really. It's about finding that perfect balance for your RC car.
And on that note, here's something to ponder. Now that you're starting to understand the mechanics of shock absorbers, how does that knowledge impact your overall strategy when you're out on the racetrack? Something to think about.